All right. We should be live for another day of politics. Just pulling it up to make sure notifications been going instantly every single time. Very interesting indeed. Live on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick for question period. Make sure Rumble's actually working. Rumble's you gotta hit start stream after hitting start stream on OBS. It's like, man, why can't you guys just do it the way Kick does it? Do it the way YouTube does it. You hit live, you don't have this studio thing going on here. I mean, it works fine, but it's a pain in the ass. It really is. Anyway, we got a ton of things to get into. Not really. Just a Moose on the Loose video. Let's get into it.
It does feel hard to believe the kinds of things that you're saying the government is now about.
We got curveballs everywhere. Welcome back to Moose and Loose. My name's David. Today we got Vasi Capellos interviewing Tim Hodgson, Mark Carney's energy minister, fresh back from India, and he's saying, well, it's time for a pipeline. We also got more aftermath of Jamil Javani going down to meet with JD Vance. It seems he did talk with Donald Trump as well. We got some liberals melting down over this. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, we've got the conservatives supporting Mark Carney on his grocery GST handout. And what does Mark Carney and the liberals do in return here to get rid of all the food packaging taxes and all that stuff? They vote against it. Of course they do. Liberals vote against conservative motion calling on the government to cut hidden food costs and boost competition in the grocery sector.
Wow, figured that much. We need to stop acting shocked. Like, can we please stop acting shocked? Every single conservative motion has been shut down, and every single one going forward will be shut down. Nobody is willing to work with them. As much as I want to see their policies go through, every party has made it very clear where they stand when it comes to conservative motions.
You know, I just looked at the price of green peas, and if for anyone new around here, I keep tracking the price of food based off of frozen green peas. They used to be $1 for a bag, like 350 something grams, something like that. And now at Walmart, the cheapest place I can find it, it is $3 for a bag of green peas. Now, if you go to one of the other grocery stores that's way more expensive, like Save On Foods, you're paying more, like $4 or $5 for a bag of green peas. A lot of them should be fired. Liberals hate Canada. Yep. Moving ahead, we've got this. Carney scraps Trudeau anti-Semitism and Islamophobia SARS. So we've got leftists breaking down over this. I guess they're trying to weave this into one position. Mark Carney's making a bunch of moves here. He's bringing in there's that floor crosser from the Ontario NDP, the deputy leader NDP party. So that'll bring in some NDP, but then doing this will push away some of the NDP. So it's interesting how this, is going to pan out. We're going to jump right into this interview with Tim Hodgson because this is pretty wild what he's come back with here from India.
I know you're coming back fresh from a couple of pretty significant trips, and I wanted to start off on one of them, the most recent one to India. When you were there, I listened to a press conference that you gave where you said that your impression was India would welcome the opportunity to buy more Canadian oil and gas. It appears like they've recently agreed through a deal with the United States to stop importing Russian oil. Is there more opportunity for Canadian crude to supplant that supply?
Well, what I heard loud and clear when I was in India is, and maybe I'll start by saying something I learned while I was over there. India has the largest refinery industry in the world. They also have the largest refineries in the world. Today, they are buying Canadian crude in rather small quantities off the West Coast through the TMX pipeline, but they're buying larger amounts of Canadian crude off the Gulf Coast. It would clearly be cheaper for them to buy more off of our West Coast. And I can tell you that the Indian refiners that I spoke to really like our product, and they would like to buy more.
How much additional export capacity do you believe might be necessary to see the full promise of what you kind of heard there actually realized?
India is quite hungry for more energy. I heard loud and clear they would take as much additional crude as we could supply.
You hear that? They will take as much crude oil as we can ship them. We should be building not 1, 2, but 3 more pipelines. 1 across to the east, 2 over to the west coast, add another line to Trans Mountain. The Liberals were wrong. They were dead wrong on this for years. Throw these guys out of office. So what I fear they're going to do here is that it seems like they're going to be pushing forward a pipeline. They're going to attach net zero to it, low carbon. You're going to hear here throughout this interview, he brings up India's green tech. They're trying to steal all the best conservative stuff, but then push through their net zero agenda, exactly as I've been saying for the past year and a half. So he mentioned Trans Mountain Pipeline. Let's look at this one here. So this comes from Edmonton, goes down through the Rockies. David Eby is willing to open this up and add another line here, expand this. Just like a month or two ago, he said, oh, this thing has tons of capacity. We don't need any of this. No pipelines to the West Coast. And once again, he's lying. All these guys have been lying. Here's the capacity chart. This
David Eby just needs to just step down. Do everybody a favor. Yeah, you're not doing anybody any solids over there in BC. And you're blocking everything else. The actual obstruction that is occurring in this country comes from people like David Eby and the NDP.
This light blue is domestic light. The dark blue at the top here is domestic heavy. So they've been adding this as soon as they expanded the pipeline. They just recently expanded this, opened this up. They've been building it for years now. They twinned the line and opened it up just last year. So we're starting to make a bunch of money with this just starting last year. We need to add another line to this, and we need one to Prince Rupert. Like, let's get this show on the road. At the bottom there, you can see the orange is their refined petroleum products. And the yellow line here on the top, you can see is capacity. And the capacity here, it's almost full. It gives you a percentage daily, but I mean, we can see here it's 85, 76, 83, and then recently, look at this, 88, 95% capacity. As I said a year ago, talking about this David Eby running his mouth like an idiot for the past 6 months, and this pipeline is 95% full now. We haven't even started shovels in the ground on another pipeline. These guys are utter failures. And here we've got Tim Hodgson coming back from India. Yeah, they'll buy as much oil as we can sell them, but we don't have pipelines to sell them that oil.
Does that, in principle, reasonably lead to an argument for an additional pipeline? And I'm removing from this the debate about when the proponent comes forward and all that kind of stuff. Just in principle, based on your experience in both India and China, I think I can ask, like, does that in principle support the idea of additional export capacity through another pipeline?
Does she need to tiptoe around this question to say, are you going to be approving a pipeline because Canada's crumbling? You said you're going to diversify the exports. Just say it as it is. She doesn't need to tiptoe around this guy.
So what I heard from many companies in India is they would like to buy more of our conventional oil. They would like to buy more of our natural gas, our LNG. They would like to buy more of our LPG, which they use for clean cooking. There are 380 million households in India that use LPG. This is a new...
LPG is liquefied petroleum gas, which is usually a mix of propane or butane under high pressure to turn it into a liquid. And he mentioned LNG. We won't get into this in this episode. I'll do another episode digging into this, but we've got BC First Nation withdraws support for liquefied gas export facility. That's right. First Nations are trying to block this. The question is, how many people are blocking? Is it one corrupt chief? Is it the whole band? I don't think so. The people there want this kind of stuff because they want jobs. But really, either you're with Canada or you're against Canada. And that's how it should be treated. Not to mention the port of Prince Rupert is owned by the government, not by First Nations. We're going to segue here. We'll go back to Tim Hodgson in a second. But I mean, this is all blowing up because we could easily diversify our exports to India and China. They both want to buy our oil. And we could be selling our oil to them for much higher price than we are to America. Diversifying gives us more power negotiating against Donald Trump. We've got Jamil Javani. He just went down to Washington and, well, he met with JD Vance. It sounds like he tag teamed along with him. And it sounds like he also talked to Trump. He came up with this post. So after his meetings here, he posted this: productive meetings today with the White House and State Department. The president asked me to pass along a message. Tell the Canadians I love them. I'll have much more to say later. More meetings with senators, GM, and others this week. As in, he met with Donald Trump. It seems like he's getting more progress than Carney has in a full year. I wonder why that is. Maybe Carney doesn't want to get a deal. There's a lot of moving parts here because Tim Hodgson, are they going to be proving this pipeline now as long as it's low carbon, a net zero pipeline? And Pierre Poilievre was asked about the situation with Jamil Javani.
What advice he gave Mr. Javani before his trip to Washington?
And who is he meeting there?
So the advice I've given all of our MPs is you need to fight for jobs in your community. Mr. Javani's community has been hit with a massive job loss, 1,200 jobs in the auto sector. And he's going to fight for those auto workers, as all of our MPs have been doing. You know, Mr. Carney had promised that he would get us a deal by last July. My message to him today is Conservatives are here to work with the Prime Minister and with the government to knock down these unjust tariffs and fight for our workers, fight for their jobs, and fight for our economic independence.
That's the right message there. It's interesting if you watch what's going on CBC, Peanut Head David Cochrane trying to push out this narrative that Jamil Javani doesn't have Poilievre's approval. He's going around.
Peanut Head David Cochrane. You're damn right. You're damn right. Say it again.
Poilievre's back. I mean, give me a break. Yeah, listen to his advice there. I'm guessing Steve Outhouse and Pierre and all of them sat down and said, okay, let's do this. This is the way we can interact with Trump without Pierre going down there and then getting painted as Maple Trump or whatever, all those slogans they throw out. As Mark Nixon pointing out here, no orange man bad nonsense. They can't do that against Jamil Javani. This is what adult diplomacy looks like. So that's why Carney's so pissed off, because there's nothing he can do about it. If he says, don't go meet with Trump because we don't want to get a deal, like he can't say that. So he's kind of screwed. But then we've got this going on, which just is another monkey wrench getting thrown in.
Export for Canada. We've just started exporting it. We have tremendous opportunity to grow that. So the answer is yes, there is certainly opportunity to sell more, but there's opportunity to sell many products, including critical minerals, including metallurgical coal, including potash, including uranium. They are very keen to do more business with Canada.
I ask more specifically about pipeline, and I know you'll be well familiar with this because the other products that you list are not nearly as politically divisive here within Canada. And so I'll maybe rephrase the question. So you say, yes, that there is an appetite for all of that. Does that in principle mean that the federal government sees an appetite for an additional pipeline?
So assuming we build in an environmentally responsible way, and we do it with the support of First Nations.
There it is. So it's got to have all this nonsense attached to it. First Nations will block it. I mean, we know how this goes. I just showed you they're blocking the LNG. Cut off the reconciliation payments. Enough is enough. Every Canadian should get treated equal. Corrupt chiefs shouldn't be getting massive handouts. You know, Canada Spends, I'm dyslexic. This account here is taking every single government file, putting it in a system that's easy to quickly search. This is not good for the government. And recently they did this huge deep dive into First Nations, and they've categorized everything here. They says we made a tool to make it easy for Canadians to search. We've scraped over 10,000 financial statements, schedules, remuneration, First Nation disclosed. So I went through some of those. I broke down some of those remuneration, their financials. They basically put it all in here for all the different bands, Boston Bar, First Nation. You can just look at it all. You click on it, boom, it pops it up. I'll give you one example here. So if we just look at any one of these, just pick one. We've got Bear River First Nation, and you can pick the year. I believe that's what this says at the top. Yeah, so like the newest year is on the right side here. And so we'll go Barren Lands, and you can click on the R, and this gives you remuneration and expenses. And this gives you a breakdown here of their money. If you click on FS, you got a breakdown of their financials, and it breaks it all nicely down here. So you can see revenues, 13.4 million, other 7.9 million. It's a little cutoff for you guys there. They're 5.1 million Indigenous and Northern Affairs Canada. And then expenditures, 8.5 million. Community infrastructure, 2.1 million. It's all broken down. All the chiefs with corrupt funny business, you're in trouble.
I believe there is demand for additional natural gas, LPG, and conventional oil. There's also demand for critical minerals. There's also demand for potash. There's also an incredible opportunity to exchange capabilities with respect to renewables. What the Chinese and the Indian are doing in the way of baseload renewables is quite amazing. And we've got some real opportunities to take some of the technology and bring it here to develop our resources. At the same time, they look at many of our clean tech companies, particularly in the area of CCUS, and see a real opportunity.
CCUS. I'm assuming he means carbon capture, utilization, and storage. The CCUS, he doesn't want to put out that carbon word anymore because we're on to his dirty scheme here. If they convert all this oil over to low carbon oil, they'll end up putting a carbon score on it. There'll be a penalty on it. If you buy gas, there'll be a carbon score. You'll pay an extra $1 a liter or whatever it is to pay for your dirty carbon, even though China's the one building a new coal-fired power plant every week. Then you'll have carbon scores on all the food. Oh, it's a E-level carbon. Don't eat that Bermondsey porter cake. That'll cost you some extra carbon. You'd have to pay extra to offset your carbon. That's what they're driving our economy to. This is a nonsense system. I don't buy it that India is interested in this, but who knows? Maybe their leaders are corrupt over there too, and they want to get in on this.
Particularly in the area of CCUS, and see a real opportunity to take that that technology there. So there's many opportunities for us to work together.
And like I said, I take your point on all of that. That's the stuff that's the end half of what you said is the stuff that's very politically palatable, that's easy to find support across the country. The former subject, that of a pipeline, is less so. And I wondered if you could also comment, Minister, on sort of providing investors, potential proponents, let's say, with the level of assuredness that might be required, given all that's going on. And I'll provide you with a few examples that I know you're well aware of, but so that our listeners are as well. We've got opposition from the Premier of British Columbia, perhaps the most punctuated opposition politically, but we also have a number of other factors, including Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith saying that if this doesn't go ahead, it's going to be hugely nationally divisive, a whole bunch of stuff, basically politically. How would you respond to that?
So the Prime Minister and the premiers have all been together as recently as last week. We all agree that we need to work together to find ways to grow our economy.
All you need to do is get rid of all those stupid laws. Danielle Smith already made a list for these guys. This is not rocket science. Get rid of all that garbage, open it up. Companies will come back and start building. They know what to do. These guys are running a scheme here to get rich.
And do it in a way that is respectful for the environment, and do it in partnership with First Nations.
They keep bringing First Nations into this because they get a cut of it. And when they get First Nations on board, then they get the veto power. It's like they get control of First Nations just by cutting them in on it. Remember this crap show from Coastal First Nations? Not a First Nations group. This is just an activist group that put up a picture of First Nations. And what do we have underneath our land? Carbon credits. Under economy, carbon credits. They're in on it with them. That's why he keeps mentioning it. This gives them more power to push through their grift.
There's lots of work to do. That's why you've got a team in the federal government, a team in the Alberta government, a team in the British Columbia government working hard to execute against the MOU, the work streams in the MOU. It's going to take lots of work, but this is a great country. And if we all work together, we will find positive paths forward.
Do you think investors can be assured that your government says what it means? I recently interviewed Gregor Robertson, the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, who used to be very opposed to pipeline development in the form of TMX. And I read just part of the MOU to him about an exemption of the tanker ban and asked him if he was supportive of the exact language in the MOU. I asked him probably 4 times, and he could not unequivocally say, yes, he was. I think it's understandable. I know you're a newer minister. You weren't in the last government, but given the record of the last government, the rhetorical way that they framed this issue, it does feel hard to believe the kinds of things that you're saying the government is now about, given particularly the presence of some of those ministers still around, those people still around the cabinet table. Does your government mean what it says? Like, will you act on that?
What our government is committed to is, if we build in an environmentally responsible way and we do it in partnership with First Nations.
There it is. It's all about this because there's money to be made and they want to be making that money.
We will have the support, the social license to build. I want to come back to where we are in the world right now. We are, as the Prime Minister said in Davos, we are at a rupture. We are at a time where the trading system that we prospered under for many, many years.
And now he's just rereading his speech. All right, moving on. We have a Conservative MP going on about the MAID program.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hello, everyone. Another combat vet who says he was offered medical suicide comes forward. She sought help in crisis and was suggested MAID instead. Spina bifida patient says Montreal Hospital twice offered MAID unprompted. L'aide médicale à mourir, ça vous dit? These are headlines from recent Canadian news stories highlighting the deeply troubling reality of medically facilitated death being offered and promoted by government bureaucrats to people who are not asking for it. Discrimination and coercion that undermines the experience of people trying to access supports that they are entitled to. Let's take a closer look at one of these cases. Nicolas Bergeron, a 46-year-old man in Quebec, was not interested in medically facilitated death, but a social worker who came to his house for an entirely different reason repeatedly tried to push him to change his mind. She presented a very bleak worst-case scenario for his illness and told him that sometimes you just have to stop fighting. Imagine being a veteran, calling for routine
Holy shit. Can you fucking imagine that?
practical help from the Veterans Affairs Department, expressing frustration about the lack of effectiveness of the response, and then
My
having the person on
God.
the other end of the line say, well, have you considered death instead? This is wrong, and this is not a one-off. This made coercion by non-experts in positions of authority is part of a troubling pattern. Krista Carr from Inclusion Canada recently told the Finance Committee that she receives complaints on a weekly basis from people with disabilities who are facing MAID coercion. And so it is in this context, to respond to the concerns of veterans, people with disabilities, the elderly, and people living in poverty, that I have put forward Bill C-260, an act to prevent coercion of persons not seeking medical assistance in dying. As the name suggests, this bill does not apply to or impose any limitation on a person who is seeking medical assistance in dying. It only applies to those who are not seeking medical assistance in dying. Ce projet de loi empêcherait les fonctionnaires gouvernementaux près de patients et les persons. Bill C-260, an act to prevent coercion of persons not seeking medical assistance in dying, does not apply to or impose any limitation on a person who is seeking medical assistance in dying. It only applies to those who are not seeking medical assistance in dying. This bill seeks to address the existing gap in Canada's MAID law by prohibiting a government bureaucrat in a position of authority from proposing MAID to a citizen who is not asking for it. If passed, this law will provide robust protection for people with disabilities, veterans, and others who are trying to access government services. This bill also includes a clear and blanket exception for doctors and nurses. Obviously, medical staff should also approach these conversations with great care and discretion. But my bill focuses on the most extreme cases of people who are not even supposed to be delivering health care. I want to be pragmatic and put forward legislation that will stand a reasonable chance of passing in the current Parliament. I hope that this precise focus on government bureaucrats, excluding doctors and nurses from its application, will give this bill its best chance of moving forward. Difficult conversations about MAID happen between a willing patient and their healthcare provider. They should not happen between a bureaucrat and a citizen who is trying to access unrelated services. La loi canadienne prévoyait que ces conversations délicates aient lieu entre un professionnel a number of years for veterans on this very important issue over a number of years. Blake was unfortunately not able to be here this morning, but he has been an incredible champion of veterans who have been victims of this kind of coercion and has worked hard to bring their cases before Parliament and to a wider audience. So I want to thank him for that work and thank all of those who have come forward. Obviously, it's not easy for people to speak out when they are in these kinds of situations, but there has been so much commentary and discussion of it that we see what a problem this has become and why we need Bill C-260 to step into that gap. Thank you very much, and look forward to your questions.
Mr. James, I wanted to ask you something on a bit of a different subject, but one of your colleagues, Jamil Jivani, going down to the U.S. and meeting with some members of the White House yesterday, posting on social media that he had some positive meetings and saying that the president sent a message as well. What do you think about his efforts? Do you think that this is part of the Team Canada approach, or do you see it as freelancing?
Well, I don't know the details. I know that a government minister provided him with a briefing, but I only know that because I read it in the news. So I'm not involved in international files right now. My focus is on this bill, and my response responsibilities as Shadow Minister for Employment. So I don't have any additional information I can give you.
I can appreciate that, but when you consider that the relationship between Canada and U.S. is so important, and how you have different prime ministers, Chrétien, Harper, and even Carney, talking about a Team Canada approach, how do you put Mr. Giovanni's visit in that sort of spectrum?
Well, I understand he was briefed by a government minister. I don't know all of the circumstances.
To try and do some work on.
Well, but you're asking me to comment on something when I've already told you that.
He's asking questions that have nothing to do with why he is standing there in the first place. My God, these reporters are useless. And on top of that, Jamil Giovanni has already made it quite clear why he is going there. There's no digging into this further than just that. He's made it quite blatant and clear. He just wants to fix things. He wants things to be better. He wants the tariff shit to go away. That's bottom line. And they're trying to spin this narrative. It's just crazy. You can't hate the mainstream media enough.
What I know about the conversations that have happened, the coordination that have happened, is what I've read in the news. I'm not involved in the file.
Colleague going and doing that?
I'm not involved in the file. Any other questions, preferably on the subject we're here to talk about?
Well, I actually wanted to ask you about the new legislation for the Build Canada homes that the government is presenting this morning.
This respectfully, I mean, this is a critical issue for the well-being of people with disabilities, veterans.
They don't even give a shit. It's actually wild.
Does anybody have questions in relation to that?
Well, I just
And this feed is terrible. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but every few seconds it's like glitching out, and let me see if I can get it on a specific frame here. It's like they didn't even take the time to ask questions right there. Look. They didn't even take the time to ask questions, and they don't even care if the feed runs properly. Like, what the hell is going on here? What is this new country with the blue-purple flag? Is this Canada after someone takes us over?
thoughts on this. The government seems to be giving itself the power to
relation to disabilities, veterans, respectfully.
That the government is presenting this morning.
This respectfully, I mean, this is a critical issue for the well-being of people with disabilities, veterans. Does anybody have questions in relation to that?
Well, I just want your thoughts on this. The government seems to be giving itself the power to expropriate land with this new legislation. Do you think that's something that it should be doing?
My understanding is the legislation was just tabled. I look forward to studying it in detail, and I look forward to discussing it with colleagues and participating in the debate on it.
On your piece, are you? Do you expect cooperation from the other parties on this? Have you talked to anybody?
I would hope and expect that something as basic as saying a bureaucrat should not be pushing MAID on someone who is not interested in having that conversation. I would hope that something as basic as that would get wide support in the House of Commons. I can't say for sure. I'll be making the case, and I hope Canadians who are concerned about this issue will also contact their members of Parliament, share their concerns. So we'll see where the chips land after that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, that was, I guess, a discussion with reporters about other things other than what he wanted to talk about. Andrew Lawton just stood up.
Your achievements reflect the strength of our communities and the spirit of every young athlete who dreams big. All of Elgin County, and I think I can say all Canadians, will be cheering you on every step of the way. We're so proud of you both. Keep your sticks on the ice and bring home the gold.
The honourable member for Scarborough-Woburn.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It gives me great pleasure to rise in the House today to mark Black History Month, to honor Black excellence, resistance, resilience, and brilliance across our great country. 2026 marks the 30 years since Black History Month was formally recognized in this House. However, we know that Black history goes beyond centuries here in what we call Canada. From early settlers to abolitionists, community leaders, artists, athletes, entrepreneurs, public servants, and politicians, Black Canadians have touched all parts of Canada's history and continue to shape this great country. Black History Month is not only a time to reflect on our past, but to celebrate our achievements. and recommit to building a future rooted in equity, inclusion, and opportunity for all. This month and every month, we recognize Black History Month here in this great country, Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Richmond-Arthabasca. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, I would like to pay tribute to 2 paramedics in the Richmond-Arthabasca riding whose courage and composure should be recognized. On January 8th, when a major fire broke out in a building on King Street in Richmond, Serge Boulanger and David Leclerc, paramedics with the Coopérative des Travailleurs d'Ambulance de l'Estrie, showed great bravery. They quickly arrived at the scene of the fire and realized that there were still vulnerable people inside. Without hesitating, they entered the smoke-filled building to rescue an elderly tenant who was completely unaware of the danger. Their quick, smart, and safe response saved a life and helped patients and victims. They went above and beyond their duties. They demonstrated great responsibility, courage, and humanity. On behalf of the House of Commons, I want to thank them and highlight their outstanding commitment. The Honourable Member for Sherbrooke. Mr. Speaker, the 2026 Milan Cortina Winter Olympic Games will officially begin tomorrow. Over 3,000 passionate athletes from around the world will compete in the sports they have honed to perfection to get to the Olympics. Over 200 athletes will proudly represent Canada with passion and courage. For the first time, there will be more female Canadian athletes than male Canadian athletes at the Games. Sherbrooke will be proudly represented by Kim Boutin, Félix Roussel, and Jordan Pierre-Gilles in short track speed skating, Antoine Gélina Beaulieu in long track speed skating, and Marion Thénault in freestyle skiing. Martin Fréchette, a nutritionist, will keep our athletes in top shape. To our beloved Olympians, may this great sporting event be an opportunity for you to push your limits and live your dreams to the fullest. Give it your all, have fun, challenge yourselves, and most importantly, remember that here at home, the whole country is rooting for you. Go Canada, go! Go Sherbrooke, go!
I gotta be honest, I really don't care about the Olympics.
Speaker, Newfoundland and Labrador has a long history of building boats and protecting North America during the wars. Unfortunately, it seems like this Liberal government is overlooking our province as they build their icebreaker maintenance facility. In my region alone, we currently have 4 industry ports sitting idle. We have Marystown Shipyard, Cowhead Facility, the Bull Arm Fabrication Site, and the retired Navy base of Argentia. Newfoundlanders have used these sites to build vessels, ferries, and even large oil rigs. With all these previous projects, our tradespeople have become the best boat builders in the world. But the last Liberal decade, these sites have been empty. And now, Newfoundland and Labradorians have 74% of its tradespeople unemployed. 74%. Mr. Speaker, we have the ports, we have the people. Let's get a government that gets our people to work.
The Honourable Member for Winnipeg South Centre.
Mr. Speaker, this year the Sopilka Ukrainian Dance School, located in my riding of Winnipeg South Centre, is celebrating 55 years of preserving and sharing Ukrainian culture. Sopilka began as a small Ukrainian language class and grew into one of Manitoba's most respected dance schools. The school was founded in the early 1970s by Vicky Adams, a constituent of mine and a lifelong champion for Ukrainian culture, education, and community life. Her extraordinary contributions were recently recognized with a King's Coronation Medal, reflecting decades of volunteerism and leadership, including her deep involvement with the Ukrainian Holy Family Church. For generations of young people, Sopilka has been a place where discipline, history, and cultural pride are passed down. Through performances across Manitoba and beyond, Sopilka has helped ensure that Ukrainian traditions remain vibrant, visible, and proud. Congratulations to Vicky Adams, Artistic Director Christina Freikas, the dancers, instructors, families, and alumni on 55 remarkable years, to many more. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Carleton Trail Eagle Creek.
Canada's economy is on life support, and the country is in recession watch. Bloomberg reports per capita GDP is still falling, and the economy is growing at only 1% annually. GDP growth in November was 0%.
I don't know if you guys remember a few streams ago, probably from now, I was talking about how, like, the left is just a bunch of lunatics, but the right just eat each other alive, and it's like a crabs in the bucket sort of thing going on. I don't know. Two decently popular, not popular, but known in the conservative area, just going at each other. I don't know at this point. I don't know much about it, but it just, like, they're going on and on and on, and it hasn't stopped. It's been going on for like a few weeks now, and I don't know, man. Can we really ever get things done in this country if we're just constantly ripping each other apart? I don't know.
Many of us were dismayed to hear that Quebec would not be represented on the Canadian men's hockey team at the Milan Cortina Olympics. Quebec has always produced outstanding players, and the QMJHL has won more Memorial Cups in recent years than the Ontario or Western Leagues. Yet Quebec players are absent from the team, and French may be absent as well. This decision by Hockey Canada shows a total lack of consideration for Quebec. But, surprise, Quebecers will be able to cheer on one of their own at the Olympics. Phil Pietronero is from Saint-Eustache. He played part of his junior hockey career with the Val d'Or Foreurs, where he contributed to the team's victory in the President's Cup in 2014. Today, he is an Olympian as a member of the national team of Italy. From Saint-Eustache to Milan-Corto via Abitibi-Témiscamingue, Phil Pietronero will allow Quebecers to cheer on one of their own by proudly shouting, Viva Italia!
Member for Waterloo.
Mr. Speaker, International Development Week is a moment to reflect on how global challenges are connected and how smart investments can create lasting change. One of the major drivers of food insecurity is climate change, especially in the world's most vulnerable communities. That's why Canada is investing in women and economic empowerment as part of its international development efforts. I joined the Mennonite Central Committee Canada, Canadian Lutheran World Relief, and the Canadian Food Grains Bank for a breakfast on the Hill. Speakers shared that Canada's OD investments are delivering results, and that when women have access to resources, education, and leadership opportunities, families eat better, communities grow stronger, and local economies become more resilient. This International Development Week, I would like to thank all organizations, team members, volunteers, and donors for your contributions in making Waterloo, Canada, and the world a better place. Your efforts demonstrate what it means to be Canadian, and by working together, we can deliver prosperity through partnerships. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for York-Durham.
The Prime Minister promised to build homes at a speed not seen since the Second World War. That was the rhetoric, but it was just an illusion, because the CEO of Build Canada Homes came to Parliament this week and told us that, in fact, just 9 homes are built and move-in ready. Just 9. That's the reality, and it's a stark and disappointing reality for young Canadians who face it every day. Their ambition to own a home has turned into disappointment, and that disappointment is turning into defeat. New home sales are down 45% in the GTA, and the Canadian Home Builders Association warns that we are in for a lost decade of home ownership. Well, on this side of the House, our Conservative message is one of hope, always has been, and we have offered the government several positive solutions. Incentivize towns and cities to reduce development charges, tie funding to results, not just promises, reward those who build. So for the sake of the next generation, will the Liberals please stop obstructing these ideas and get out of the way?
The Honourable Member for Orleans.
Down Friday, Mr. 6, the 2026 Olympic Winter Games would officially open in Milan Cortina.
This is usually why I try to cut into statements by members a little bit, just because it's so fucking... they just stand up and virtue signal. That's all it is. And then honestly, they're just asking the same 5 questions from the past week and a half. The questions aren't going to change from the past 2 days. It's going to be the same thing today. Food prices are through the roof. What is it? Vegetables are up 40%. Coffee's up 25%. The Liberals are not working with us to do things. But it's true. It's all true. But you're not getting any answers from it. And the Liberals are they're awful. They're the reason we're in this position. And they won't answer any questions. They won't even tell us what's going on most of the time. They're just spending here and there as they please. Oh, now they're bringing somebody over from the NDP provincially. Check that out. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, now it's gonna be housing. Oh man.
$1 a week
Here we go.
for
Food.
a $300 grocery bill. Sure, you'll take it, but it barely makes a dent. Meanwhile, according to Food Banks Canada, almost 20% of food bank clients are not employed full-time. Food inflation is now hitting working Canadians.
I mean, let's be real though. This is question period. It always has been. Very rarely do they actually ever say anything different. If you want real questions and somewhat answers depending on who's there, you gotta watch the committees. You have to. The only thing is, nobody really watches them. Nobody cares to go out of their way to watch them. And question period's probably the most viewed hour of the entire day. There's a ton of committees today. There's a whole bunch. But nobody watches them.
Partnership that help build a safer, healthier, and more prosperous world. At a time when the world is facing growing conflict, humanitarian crises, climate change, and economic uncertainty, international development work is more important than ever. I want to thank Canadians working across the international development sector in NGOs, multilateral institutions, community organizations, and public service who dedicate their skills and compassion to improve the lives of those around the globe. Their work support women and girls, strengthen health and education systems, respond to emergencies, and helps communities build resilience in the face of instability and poverty. Often working in difficult and uncertain conditions, they reflect the best of Canada's values: cooperation, respect, and shared humanity. International development is all about partnership, dignity, and long-term impact, and remains essential to building a more stable and connected world for all of us. So on behalf of this House, I want to thank them for their commitment and their service. Thank you for your work.
The honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Over the weekend, I had a heartbreaking conversation with Cruellen Halmagin, a friend of mine who had just learned of the loss of his heroic son, Gunner Sebastian Halmagin. Since Confederation, countless Canadians have answered their nation's call to serve, sacrifice, and all too often to never come home. Prime Minister Borden, speaking in 1916, remarked, and I quote, "On the solemn truth that the nation is not constituted of the living alone, there are those as well who have passed away and those yet to be born. So this responsibility comes to us as heirs of the past and trustees of the future." Sebastian told his father, who shared with me, that he wanted every young person to know that sacrifice and commitment to the Canadian Armed Forces was noble and worthy. I want to thank him for his service and his ultimate sacrifice. Offer my prayers and love to his wonderful family. And on behalf of all parliamentarians, say that we will never forget what he gave us.
The Honourable Member for Bourassa. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today, as a part of Black History Month, we are celebrating the history of Black people, their resilience, and their important contributions to Canadian society. In Bourassa, this is an everyday reality because we have a significant Haitian population in our riding. This solidarity and their contributions enrich my riding and my colleagues' ridings too. For generations now, Black women and men in Canada have contributed to all walks of life, to all spheres. They strengthen our social fabric and they make us a more welcoming and inclusive country. Black History Month is a time to remember, but it's also a time to be proud and a time of recognition. This reminds us that diversity is a source of strength for Canada. Mr. Speaker, beyond our differences, beyond where we come from, we are one people united by the values of respect, dignity, and solidarity. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
All right, here we go.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians need hope. Hope for affordable groceries. Since this Prime Minister
Here we go,
took
Spider-Man.
office, he has promised to be judged by grocery store prices. Costs are rising twice as fast amongst the other G7 countries. And I asked the Prime Minister why. It's because of our weak dollar, he said, but he needs to protect it. Can the Prime Minister explain why he gave us a weak dollar and expensive groceries? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, I would like to quote the Leader of the Opposition from 26. He invited his colleagues to turn this rhetoric into reality. We see obstruction right now. Canadians asked us to present a plan to grow the Canadian economy, Mr. Speaker, to protect Canada's sovereignty and to ensure that Canadian families, our seniors, the young people, have a promising future, Mr. Speaker. Can the Leader of the Opposition, will he support the government to pass our budget? Rather than quoting people, he, in 2023, said that he would stabilize grocery prices before Thanksgiving. Now, it's been more than 2 years, and grocery prices are rising twice as much. We have the worst food inflation amongst the other G7 countries, and this finance minister who caused these issues, he's still in power. Why does the Prime Minister continue with these taxes and inflationary deficits, and why is he depriving Canadians of affordable food? The Honourable Minister, Mr. Speaker, allow me to help the Leader of the Opposition. He wrote in 2026 that it's time to leave rhetoric aside and to look at the reality of the situation. I know that the Leader of the Opposition was very concerned about his own future at the time, but if he saw the measure we announced to ensure food stability, there'll be a benefit that will help families. There'll be $500 million to have more food, and more importantly, he has the opportunity to support the government to help Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Under this Liberal government and under that particular minister, auto production has fallen by half. The Prime Minister was elected promising that he would protect the auto industry and get a deal with the U.S. by July 21st. He broke both of those promises, and since there have been job losses at Cami Ingersoll, GM Oshawa, Stellantis Brampton, and PACCAR au Québec. Mr. Speaker, today he finally flip-flopped on his cherished EV mandate, but is bringing in a new subsidy for people to buy American-made automobiles. Why is he forcing Canadian workers to pay taxes to subsidize American vehicles?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
I know it's Thursday, but I have good news for the Leader of the Opposition. I have very good news for him, and I have good news for Canadian. It's called...
Every time this guy opens his mouth, he has good news, and it's never good.
Today was standing up for
Nothing has changed.
Canadian industry, for the future of the industry in this country. They can yell as much as they want on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker, but the workers know what we have done for them. They know what we're doing today and what we're going to do in the future. Mr. Speaker, we'll build Canada strong.
The Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, that minister was in charge of industrial policies, the Minister of Industry, while automobile production fell in Canada by half. And now under this Prime Minister, we've lost 5,000 more auto jobs. Here's the deal that he's announced today. The American president will continue to tariff Canadian-made automobiles going into the U.S., while Canadian taxpayers will be forced to subsidize American vehicles coming back into Canada. Instead of subsidizing American vehicles and killing Canadian jobs, why not take our plan to take the GST off Canadian-made automobiles?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I will tell him that under my watch, for the first time in Canadian history, we brought a European manufacturer to invest in our country, Mr. Speaker. It's called Volkswagen. It's called St. Thomas. It's called the car of the future, Mr. Speaker. Volkswagen has invested a record amount in Canada, Mr. Speaker. They can yell as much as they want, but the people in St. Thomas know who did it. They know what we're doing today, and they know we're going to support our worker, our industry, and the auto sector in this country, Mr. Speaker. Let them criticize.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, he's literally yelling for us to stop yelling. This is an example of the Liberal illusion. The Prime Minister has put in charge of finance the industry minister who's responsible for auto production in Canada falling by half. Wow. And the present collapse of auto production and jobs in our country. Now, the Prime Minister broke his promise to negotiate a deal with the U.S., and now he wants to subsidize U.S.-made vehicles. Why not take taxes off Canadian-made vehicles so that we can bring home jobs to our country?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I don't need to speak loud because Canadians know what we did. If he wants to look at what we did under my watch, Mr. Speaker...
All you do is speak loud.
Mr. Speaker, and about Nexstar. What we did, Mr. Speaker, is to see where the puck is going. That is truly Canadian.
This guy doesn't have a volume switch.
The auto sector of today, but the auto sector of tomorrow, Mr. Speaker. We understood, and not even just Canadian. Bloomberg said that Canada would have the most complete supply chain when it comes to EV, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of our record. We are proud to invest in Canadian workers, and we'll build the industry of the future together.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Bloomberg just said that the economy in Canada is shrinking under that minister and this Prime Minister, but from failed economic Liberal policy to failed immigration Liberal policy, Liberals have unleashed an extortion crisis by allowing Bishnoi gangsters into our country without screening. Now, they are allowing them to stay here by even after they're convicted if they make a phony refugee claim. Conservatives moved a motion at committee to kick extortionists out of our country after they've been convicted. Liberals voted it down. Wow. Will they join with us, stop obstructing, pass an amendment to the law so that we can kick extortionists and fake refugee claimants out of Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Justice.
Mr. Speaker, when it comes to extortion, the Conservatives have been uniquely unhelpful in advancing the laws that police are telling us they need to combat extortion. I received a message this morning from Patrick Brown, the Mayor of Brampton, saying that the Peel Regional Police have asked him to pass along the message that the Strong Borders Act is necessary to provide lawful access to help law enforcement break up extortion rings. Mr. Speaker, for months they have obstructed measures that were going to make bail and sentencing tougher on extortionists. It's one thing to stand up and make noise in the House of Commons, it's another to get the laws adopted. Let's do the job Canadians demand.
The Honourable Member for Berthier
Shut up, Sean.
Mr. Speaker, some retirees have not received their old age pensions for 9 months.
Bro,
Civil servants
again? The block. Again.
To Curram. But the Liberals didn't listen to the public servants. They gagged them. And the government's instructions to these civil servants was to absolutely not tell people that the delays or payment errors are because of Curram. Instead of attacking whistleblowers, why doesn't the government help retirees? The Honourable Minister.
They have like maybe 5 questions total, and they're asking the same thing.
Solve the issues. This includes enhancing training so that personnel is able to deal with requests faster. There are positive signs are showing that this training is paying off. Our bureau contacted the member across the way to see if they have any urgent cases, and I would ask them to contact me so we can respond. The Honourable Member for Berthier-Masquet-Nanger. Mr. Speaker, there are seniors who are not receiving their old age pensions, and instead of helping them, the Liberals are trying to protect themselves. It's extremely worrisome because the same Curram system is experiencing problems with the payment of old age and also EI and the federal pension plan. By minimizing the problems instead of solving them, the Liberals are creating the perfect conditions for a storm that would make Phoenix look like a simple storm. When are they going to fix the problems instead of intimidating public servants? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Our government is protecting seniors. We are offering dental care, enhanced OAS, and lodging for seniors. We're modernizing the digital and benefit system. And I would ask the member across the way to give me the names of these people, and we will help them. The honourable member for Shefford. Mr. Speaker, quite frankly, one wonders if the minister reads French language media, because if she did, she would stop downplaying the problems of retirees who are not receiving their old age pensions. And if so, they would know that civil servants have resorted to acting as whistleblowers because they're so fed up with being silenced instead of being helped. Enough is enough. There are errors in pensions because of the Curum software. All civil servants are saying so, and the Liberals seem to be putting more energy into covering up the problem rather than solving it. When are they going to take action? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I do read French language medium, but I also work in English and in French, like many people in this House.
Mr. Speaker, we have focused all our resources on making sure that we get through the waiting list. Mr. Speaker, it is shrinking every day. I thank the civil service, by the way, for taking the effort to learn this system and learn it well. And as I mentioned, we've been in contact with these members of parliament. If they have urgent cases, please send them to me. We haven't received any names yet.
The honourable member for Thornhill.
3 years ago, the finance minister promised to stabilize food prices, and he did, at record highs. Canada now has the worst food inflation in the G7, twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office and twice as high as the U.S. And now the minister offers another temporary rebate that won't lower the price of a single item, while admitting his so-called historic summit that he got CEOs to come to Ottawa for was a failure. They voted against our common sense motion yesterday to lower food costs. Why won't they just take off the taxes off of food?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Here we go.
Mr. Speaker, is why won't the Conservatives vote for the plan, the Prime Minister's plan, the Prime Minister's economic plan, the one that gets projects built quickly, that puts $1 trillion of investment into our economy, that uses Canadian lumber, Canadian steel, Canadian ingenuity, and the great union work of Canadian brothers and sisters to build our country strong? When, I just want a date from the honourable member, when will they pass the Budget Implementation Act, the Prime Minister's plan to build Canada?
The honourable member for Thornhill.
Speaker, my colleague knows that I'm talking about a grocery plan, but it doesn't actually lower the price of groceries. It's a $10 coupon on a $300 grocery bill, and it's insulting. And the rebate won't lower a single price. That's, of course, after they put forward a budget, which this wasn't even in. Meanwhile, they keep hiking the fuel taxes, the packaging taxes, driving food costs higher, and blaming everyone else and their decade of failure for it. Why won't they lower the prices? If they won't do that, why don't they take the taxes off of food?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Mr. Speaker, you know what's insulting to the constituents of Thornhill? When that member votes against the very things that they themselves are saying are useful. In fact, not just her constituents, but certainly the food banks in her riding would say that the announcement the Prime Minister made on the GST, on the essentials benefit, and on strengthening our food security, and on supporting food banks, and on supporting producers is exactly what we need to do for food security in this country. She needs to get on board and stop voting against the very constituents she represents.
The honourable member for Calgary Midnapore.
The Prime Minister is doing everything possible to ignore the reality that Canadians are facing in their daily lives. Food inflation in Canada is twice as high as it is in the United States, and the temporary measures that the Liberals are offering will not result in a single grocery price reduction. They had an opportunity to collaborate yesterday and pass our motion, which would have lowered prices at the grocery store, but they voted against it. Why is it that the Prime Minister's personal agenda always comes before the needs of everyday Canadians?
Good question.
The Honourable Secretary of State for Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we have a Prime Minister with world-class business and economic experience. We've cut taxes for millions of Canadians, and just last week we announced a groceries and essentials benefit that will put up to $1,900 in the pockets of working families. The Conservative leader has never had a job in the economy. He continues to obstruct. He continues to talk rhetoric. It's time for that leader to get on board, help us build Canada strong. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Calgary-Midnapore.
Well, this Prime Minister is traveling around the world and making big speeches, but what is he really achieving for Canadians? Food inflation is twice as high as when the Prime Minister took office, and Canada now leads the G7 in food inflation. The Prime Minister promised to be judged by the prices at the grocery store. Yesterday, Conservatives tried to help by presenting a real solution to lower grocery prices for Canadians. Yet the Liberals voted against this common sense motion. So will the Prime Minister now eat his words because Canadians can't? Wow.
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what the Prime Minister is doing is creating investment in Canada, investment that has made it such that Canada created more jobs than the United States. Not more per capita, not more per capita, more jobs than the United States. This Prime Minister, I hope he keeps traveling and bringing home those jobs, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Abbotsford South Langley.
Mr. Speaker, Canada leads the G7 in food inflation. Prices are rising twice as fast as in the United States, and yesterday the Liberals voted against the Conservative plan to lower food costs. The industrial carbon tax is driving up costs for farm machinery, for fertilizers, and for food processors. When you tax the farmer, you tax every Canadian. When will the Liberals work with us to cut this unnecessary industrial carbon tax and the 17 cents a litre fuel standard tax that are driving up grocery prices?
The Honourable Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, my colleague from British Columbia is asking a question about something that's incredibly important to all Canadians. And you know what? This government has taken steps to address this. We are introducing the Groceries and Essentials benefit, which is going to put money in the pockets of families so that they can acquire the things that they need. A family of 4 will receive up to $1,890 this year and $1,400 for the next 4 years. We're taking action to support the families in BC.
The Honourable Member for Charlebourg au Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, we know that since the Liberals have come to power, grocery prices are up, the cost of living is up, and for a single-parent family, it's harder for them to pay for rent. Can the Prime Minister confirm that all the members of the Cabinet agree with the idea of personally helping vulnerable people to have access to affordable housing? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary. Mr. Speaker, it's important to take account of the needs of our constituents, and the strategy we're adopting is one that's based on giving back purchasing power to Canadians. And that's essentially what we're focusing on. For us, it's important. But in this strategy, there are food strategies. There are also job creation strategies. And we also need the cooperation from the opposition, not obstruction. Thank you. Just to specify, I won't be voting personally. Well, the Honourable Member for Charlebourg au Saint-Charles. Mr. Speaker, I think my colleague across the way did not hear the news, but in the Journal de Montréal this morning, we learned that a single-parent mother is being kicked out of her housing, and this member realized that she's showing a lack of empathy and morals. Honourable Government House Leader, Mr. Speaker, I don't know if this has any relationship with anything to do with our government administration. The Honourable Member for Repentigny. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals should never have cancelled the incentives for the purchase of EVs. So it's good news that they're being reinstated for vehicles manufactured here or in countries with which we have free trade agreements like Europe. But the problem is that the federal government is blocking affordable EVs from Europe. Ottawa has decided that these cars, which are good for everyone else on the planet are not good enough for Canada. Will the government offer people a choice by allowing European electric cars?
Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On the contrary, we welcome these EVs because our rebate applies as part of the free trade agreement, including that with Europe. So our auto strategy includes a lot of incentives to attract people to
God, it's such a stupid way of doing it as well. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants them.
Mr. Speaker, reinstating incentives for the purchase of EVs is a small step forward, but it still doesn't erase the Liberals' setbacks and bringing EVs in. It won't lead to lasting mobility. They cut $5 billion from the public transit fund while subsidizing oil companies to the tune of tens of billions. They're also agreeing with Alberta to build a new dirty oil pipeline, even as they claim to be promoting electric transportation. Why is it that when it comes to the Liberals, they take one step forward but 1,000 steps backward?
Parliamentary Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate my colleague's question. But once again, it's the opposite. Our announcement today includes a national network for EVs with an investment of $1.5 billion. So this is a national project which includes Quebec to welcome this green future and EVs in our country.
The honourable member for Parry Sound Muskoka.
New home sales in the GTA have fallen to their lowest level in 45 years, putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Home ownership among 30 to 34-year-olds has dropped from 62% to 52%. Young Canadians are losing hope. 93% of Gen Z and millennials are worried about housing, and nearly half of them are planning to leave their home communities. The Prime Minister promised to help Canadians buy their first home. So after nearly a decade, why are sales collapsing, builders laying off workers, and ownership is getting further and further out of reach?
Good question. The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it's a good day to be asking that question. We've introduced the Build Canada Homes Act this morning. Precisely, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that young Canadians have access to affordable housing going forward. We've dedicated $13 billion in the budget. We need the support of members in this House to pass that budget, to invest in young Canadians.
$13 billion.
Instruction on the Build Canada Homes Act to make sure we have a lean, mean agency to deliver that funding to young Canadians.
The honourable member for...
Where's the investment? Drive in investment from private companies or something. $13 billion.
In 2020, 69% of starts were for ownership.
We're going to build a bunch of shoeboxes.
New home sales are down 45% in the GTA, and builders are laying off workers. So it's a very simple question to the Minister. Do you really, truly believe that creating a fourth federal housing bureaucracy without reducing taxes or fees or all the approval delays will really make it easier for Canadians to buy their first home?
Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm concerned that the member opposite doesn't care about renters. In my city, half of the population rents housing. And certainly we do not discriminate against those who choose to buy or rent. Many Canadians don't have a choice. That's why we have to make affordable housing options possible for all Canadians, make sure they have a safe home. We don't need any delays in this House to the budget or to the Build Canada Homes Act. We need to deliver affordable housing for Canadians. I hope the member will support us on our bill.
Honourable member for Flamborough, Glanbrook, Brant North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A new report from the Missing Middle Initiative warns of a lost decade for home ownership. For every 100 new adults, there will be only 12 housing starts intended for ownership. Nearly half of young Canadians say they've considered leaving their city or province because of housing costs. Now the market is seizing up. New home sales in the GTA have hit a 45-year low, putting 100,000 jobs at risk. Builders are laying off workers and fear they may not survive. When will the Liberals adopt our plan to get their bureaucracy out of the way so young Canadians can buy?
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, it is critical that we build housing in the GTA that is affordable. We want to get the industry back building affordable housing for Canadians, certainly in the GTA, but across the country. We're seeing good housing starts in many cities across the country, but we're just getting started with affordability. And we need to deliver with members around this House on the Build Canada Homes Act. No obstruction. Let's get to building.
The honourable member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, young Canadians are being locked out from home ownership. Home ownership is collapsing. For 30 to 34-year-olds, it fell from 60% to 52%. Supply is broken. For every 100 new adults, only 12 ownership homes are built. Sales are crashing, down 45% in the GTA, down 56% in Vancouver. Builders are laying off workers. 100,000 jobs are at risk. 93% of young Canadians are worried. When will the Liberals adopt our plans and get out of the way so young Canadians can buy their first home?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Combating Crime.
Mr. Speaker, we have good news for this House. Just today, we tabled the Build Canada Homes Act, and we are hopeful that the Conservatives will not obstruct this bill, as they've been doing with our budget that provides more affordability measures to Canadians so that they can have that dream of buying their first home, so that they can live in affordable housing. That is the dream of all Bramptonians. That is what I hear from my constituents, and this act will help us meet those goals, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Red Deer.
Mr. Speaker, the Liberal housing crisis is hitting communities of every size. The City of Red Deer has been asking for a meeting with the Housing Minister for months to address their housing concerns. And despite writing to him 4 times, it seems like Red Deer is too small for the Minister to care to respond. I sure hope Red Deer isn't being ignored because it doesn't deliver Liberal votes like Toronto and Vancouver. Will the minister finally agree to sit down with the City of Red Deer and listen to their issues and admit that mid-sized cities...
Honestly, Alan, you didn't miss anything. It's just the same 5 questions over and over, followed by Liberal lie. And then we'll eventually get an NDP.
Conservatives in Ottawa are out of step with Conservatives in Alberta. Alberta's Minister of Social Services has praised the pace of housing delivery, saying we're getting shovels in the ground and roofs over the head of Albertans. Thousands more low-income Albertans will have a safe, durable house, affordable house that they can count on. Federal Conservatives say they want to work with us, but they can't even work with their own Conservative colleagues on delivering housing for Albertans.
The honourable member for Mississauga East Cooksville.
Mr. Speaker, the auto sector is facing the biggest challenge in a generation. Unjustified and unjustifiable tariffs from the United States on our auto sector is leaving our auto workers under a cloud of uncertainty. Our government stands behind our auto sector, behind our communities, and the workers that are facing these new realities head-on. Can the Minister of Jobs and Families please tell this House how the newly announced auto strategy will transform Canada's auto industry, protecting our workers today and building the vehicles of tomorrow?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Families.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the Member of Parliament from Mississauga East Cooksville for his unwavering support for auto workers and the sector. Canada's auto workers and workers are the backbone of our economy, and when our auto sector workers come under attack, our government stands with them and protects them. So today, the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Industry announced Canada's new auto strategy, taking action on what we can control. We're investing $3 billion from the Strategic Response Fund to support the industry, $570 million to support reskilling and upskilling workers. Mr. Speaker, this is how
I don't know why Gary still has a job.
The Honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
This Liberal minister says that they stand with auto workers. What it looks like is they stand with Donald Trump, because while Donald Trump imposes 10% tariffs on every single vehicle that comes into Canada,
the member may start over.
Holy crap.
I didn't see anything unparliamentary in that. The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
The Liberal minister just said that they stand with auto workers, but it sure looks like they stand with Donald Trump. Let me explain. While Donald Trump imposes 10% tariffs on every single vehicle that comes into Canada, these Liberals have passed an EV mandate that is actually going to give Canadian taxpayer dollars in the form of subsidies to American-made EVs. You actually can't make this up. Less than 5% of Canadian vehicles will qualify for this EV subsidy. Why are they contributing to Donald Trump's Buy American instead of preserving jobs in Canada?
The Honourable Minister, Secretary of State, Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If that member and the party opposite thinks that we are on the wrong side of Canadian sovereignty, they've got another thing coming. Our approach is all about Canadian.
What a weak comeback. Holy shit, that was awful.
All about embracing the future of electrification. It's all about embracing our workers, who are the best workers in the world. And for the members opposite to talk down Canadian sovereignty or to talk down this sector at this moment of real challenge, when we've got an opportunity to solve it, is really beneath them.
The honourable member for Dufferin-Caledon.
It's time for a little bit of education for these Liberals, Mr. Speaker. Less than 5% of vehicles manufactured in Canada will qualify for this EV rebate. The rest will come from the United States and other foreign manufacturers. But imagine you're the auto worker in Brampton who is supposed to manufacture the Jeep Compass EV. That job went to the United States. That Jeep EV Compass being manufactured in the United States is actually going to be subsidized by your taxpayer dollars. If you are that auto worker in Brampton, you are looking at this Liberal government and how this is going to benefit Donald Trump and saying, what the hell is going on in Ottawa?
We just have to watch our language a little bit, though. We just have to watch our language. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Industry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll tell you what the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association has to say about today's announcement. We welcome the government's automotive strategy announced today. Funding to support renewed purchase incentives and a robust charging infrastructure strategy will help continue to drive EV adoption, and CVMA members are well positioned to support the shift to electrification through diverse product offerings. That sounds like Canadian sovereign to me, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for Northumberland, Clark.
Mr. Speaker, in 2014, under the then Conservative government, the New York Times declared that Canada's middle class was the richest in the world. Now our middle class faces skyrocketing costs and taxes and a stagnant GDP per capita and a declining standard of living. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing G7 economy by building major projects. However, the major national project, they built none. And they continue to build none. The time to act is now. When will they collaborate with Conservatives and finally bring prosperity back to our great land?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, I have good news for my friend. Today, Trans Mountain just said they will be increasing the amount of oil they transport by 10% on the first of 3 optimization projects. That's how we build Canada.
Only 10%?
Northumberland, Clark.
It always worries me when this government opens up, we have good news, because it rarely is. What we're asking for, what Canadians want, are new pipelines, new projects, and the amount that they've approved, absolutely zero. This government needs to reverse course that has led 2 million Canadians to food banks, admit that their policies have failed, embrace Conservative principles fully, and collaborate with Conservatives to bring prosperity back to our country.
The Honourable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they keep asking for pipelines. We just gave them one. We're building thousands of jobs in Darlington. We're building, they're not.
The Honourable Member for Niagara South.
Mr. Speaker, Bloomberg reports that Canada's economy is on life support. Canada's GDP growth was 0 in November. Productivity continues to fall, and the Bank of Canada expects that just 1% growth next year, with business investment being postponed. How bad is it? Home builders in Niagara have laid off 60% of their framers due to stalled residential construction. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, yet growth is stalled. Will the Prime Minister please adopt conservative ideas that remove barriers so Canadians can actually build and grow again?
The Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, I know what constitutes good news for Canadians does not always constitute good news for Conservatives, Mr. Speaker. But let me give them another piece of good news. The first major national project this spring breaks ground, Le Port de Contrecoeur, une expansion de 60%, an exposed container port capacity, Mr. Speaker. We're going to build more stuff. We're going to put more stuff on boats. We're going to send more things to more places around the world, expand our trade, put people to work, and build Canada.
The Honourable Member for Barrie Springwater, Earl Medante.
Mr. Speaker, Canada made international headlines this week, with economists stating that our economy is on life support and the country is already on recession watch. Our per capita GDP is falling, residential construction is flat, businesses are postponing expansion, and this Liberal government's anti-development laws and taxes remain in place. Will the Prime Minister work with Conservatives and introduce a plan to remove the barriers that are preventing Canadians from building, investing, and working?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Speaking of building, we're building big. The Port of Montreal expansion project is 7,000 construction jobs and over 1,000 permanent jobs. Darlington Nuclear is 18,000 good-paying jobs and clean power for generations. LNG Canada and BC mean thousands of jobs and Canadian energy reaching new global market, Mr. Speaker. That's cranes in the ground, paychecks in pockets, and Canada building big.
The Honourable Member for Saskatoon West.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister sells himself as a master of economics, yet Bloomberg reports that our economy is on life support. The Bank of Canada expects economic growth to shrink in the last quarter and only grow by 1.1% this year. Canadian workers want to build and produce, but the government is holding them back with their anti-development laws and high taxes. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7, yet he hasn't delivered, and Canadians are paying the price. When will he listen to our ideas and introduce a plan that gets his government's barriers and tax burdens out of the way so Canadians can build?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Northern and Rural Development.
For 10 long years, the Conservative from Saskatchewan said Canada was broken.
Yes, sir.
They have stifled the opportunity that Saskatchewan had in potash and uranium, oil and gas, Mr. Speaker, and the list goes on. Well, Saskatchewan's on this side of the House, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, it is.
We're going to work hand in hand with Saskatchewan, join the rest of the country, and build a great future. This is about economic and social justice for Saskatchewan. We are going to deliver that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Yellowhead.
Mr. Speaker, according to Bloomberg, Canada's economy is on life support, and we are now on recession watch.
Boy.
Growth has stagnated, and real GDP is expected to decline. Forestry and logging are down 2.8% for the third month. While the Prime Minister cannot deliver on his trade promises, sawmills in Yellowhead are paying the price. Since the Liberals love our ideas, why don't they remove the industrial carbon tax, fuel standards, and anti-development laws so Canadian businesses can succeed?
The Honourable Minister for Artificial Intelligence and Digital Innovation.
Mr. Speaker, the contrast couldn't be more clear. We like to build, they like to block. We're building our auto sector with the new auto strategy. They're blocking. We're building affordable housing. They are blocking. We are investing in defense. They are blocking. We're making life more affordable for families with the GST tax credit. They are blocking. We like to build. They like to block. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Sudbury East, Manitoulin-Nickel-Belt.
Write him up, Jim.
Mr. Speaker, the latest data from Rosenberg Research is deeply concerning.
Manufacturing output is down, forestry has declined for 3 consecutive months, and paper mills in Northern Ontario are closing. The Prime Minister promised the fastest growing economy in the G7. Instead, his government has failed to remove a single anti-development policy. When will this government adopt our plan to restore economic growth by reducing red tape, lowering taxes, and allowing Canadians to invest, work, and build?
Hear, hear.
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as the former Premier of Alberta said, you can't deal with the reality of the tariff threat by pretending it's not there. But the Conservatives would rather obstruct. We have $2.5 billion allocated in Budget 2025 to attack this problem. Please support the budget.
The Honourable Member for Hamilton Mountain.
Speaker, we recently hit 100 days since Build Canada Homes was launched, and we're already seeing real momentum on the ground.
Wow.
Projects are moving faster, partnerships are coming together, and communities are seeing concrete progress on affordable housing. Would the Minister for Housing and Infrastructure please update this House on all we've accomplished and what more there is to come?
What a great
Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A big thanks to the member for the question and her great work. We have got right to work with Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker. Since the launch, we've been signing major partnerships with provinces and cities. We have 6 major development sites on federal lands. We are delivering over 7,500 homes with over tens of thousands more in the pipeline right now, Mr. Speaker, with the Build Canada Homes Act, which is introduced this morning, which we expect the support of this House on. We're establishing a lean, efficient agency that is 100% focused on delivering affordable housing for Canadians. We ask for your support.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Westka. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, we are seeing another Liberal IT fiasco. This system to administer old age security has gone from costing $1.75 billion to $6.5 billion. And even worse, 93% of civil servants are giving it a failing grade. Employees are being ordered to not criticize the software when they talk to the public. Mr. Speaker, how could this fiasco happen? What is the minister going to do about this software? Did the minister sign off on this irresponsible spending?
60-year-old system is not an easy task, and I want to start by thanking the employees at ESDC who are working so hard to make sure that seniors get their benefits on time and in accuracy. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, that's exactly what's happened. 98% of the cases are through, and I will say that we are working diligently on remaining outstanding cases where people have not yet received their benefits who have signed up to do so. If that member opposite has an urgent case, or any member of Parliament has an urgent case, we can accelerate those cases in situations where people are in dire need. Please contact my office.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Westka. Mr. Speaker, departmental employees are telling us it's not working. Our seniors built our country and paid taxes their whole lives, and now some of them are waiting up to 8 months to get their money. I'll give you a concrete case. Mr. Martial Lavoie, in my writing, he's still waiting for his check. He actually delayed his retirement because at the time there was a labor shortage. So he kept working, and now that he's finally trying to retire, he can't get his money. Mr. Speaker, what would the minister say to Mr. Lavoie? He's listening right now.
We are happy to help any senior that finds themselves in dire needs. And as I said, we are making progress. This is a very small percentage of the over 7 million Canadians who have been successfully transferred to the CURM system. This system, Mr. Speaker, brings us into the modern age, what Canadians want. In fact, seniors can now apply online and have a fully automated process to get their benefits started. In these cases where things have been done in the old way with paper forms, Often there is missing information. There may be other challenges. We have put additional resources to ensuring we get through those cases, and we can help members just like Mr. Lavoie.
L'honorable député de Lévis.
The honourable member for Lévis-Lobinière. Mr. Speaker, not only is this government stealing land from farmers, it is also closing agri-foods research centres, such as the Sainte-Foy Centre in the riding of the member for Louis Hébert, which is one of the 7 agri-foods research centres that the Liberals are arbitrarily closing. Canadian science and innovation is built in these centres, which help us be more productive. How can the Prime Minister justify his decision to prioritize consultants and foreign projects rather than our homegrown expertise that feeds Canadians?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It warms my heart that the Conservatives are now concerned about science and research.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy to reassure them that the federal government will continue the largest agriculture researcher in this country. In fact, just last month, Mr. Speaker, we invested $9.7 million with the government of Saskatchewan in science and research. We're not going anywhere. We still have 17 centres across the country. We're going to work with our stakeholders. We're going to work with academia, and we're going to make research better than it ever has been. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Nunavut.
In Rankin Inlet, the NDP caucus heard from one Inuk who shared that he has waited for 11 years for a house. There are 17 people in his 2-bedroom unit. His story is all too common in Nunavut. The government is acting on what I've told them. Nunavut will receive 50 more homes added to the 700 originally promised in the budget. This is a good start. Will the minister keep working with Nunavut to address the worst housing crisis in Canada?
You're here.
The Honourable Minister for Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for her question. I'm very excited to share that the Government of Canada, the Government of Nunavut, and Nunavut Tungavik Incorporated reached an agreement to deliver up to 750 homes in the territory there. Right. Build Canada Homes will lead this work using innovative factory-built components to get homes ready faster. We are prioritizing Canadian materials, we're supporting Inuit-owned businesses, and creating lots of job opportunities and training opportunities. This partnership will make a real difference on the ground. I thank her for her leadership in helping bring more homes to Nunavut that are much-needed affordable homes, and I encourage all...
The Honourable Member for North Island, Powell River.
Good news, Mr. Speaker. Canada's energy regulator has rejected Brookfield's plans to send Canadian hydroelectricity to the United States with almost no benefit to the people who live here, and has instead recommended a full licensing process and review. But the final decision still rests with the Minister of Natural Resources. So will that minister commit to accepting the energy regulator's recommendations and ensuring that Canada's national interests always come first?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Let me reassure the member across the aisle that our government is working closely with the government of British Columbia to build an affordable, reliable and clean electricity grid that meets the significant surge in demand we are expecting in the years to come. As the member opposite said, this matter is currently before the Commission of the Canadian Energy Regulator, which makes its decisions independent of the federal government in the best interests of Canada's ability to meet its domestic energy needs.
The Honourable Member for Nunavut.
The state of emergency in Cross Lake Pimicikamak is now over 40 days long. The Army came, made recommendations, and left. And where is the federal government? Still brainstorming solutions. Meanwhile, evacuees remain stranded in cities without adequate supports. When will Ottawa move past talking points, at a minimum implement the Army's recommendations, and uphold their constitutional responsibilities to support people returning to a safe home?
The Honourable Minister for Emergency Management and Community Resilience.
I can assure my friend across the aisle that emergency management, our department was in contact with that nation from the commencement of the power outage We've worked, as has Indigenous Services Canada, to make sure that firstly we sent the Canadian Armed Forces, and secondly that there were sufficient people on the ground to help evacuate and provide benefits to the region. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Saanich Gulf Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As International Development Week comes to a close, I know I and many of my colleagues in this place have met with dozens of frontline workers from development organizations who are reeling from the broken promise. During the election, the Liberals promised, the Prime Minister said, quote unquote, we will not cut foreign assistance, we will not cut development assistance, and the budget showed a cut of $2.7 billion. We used to be known in the world. Lester B. Pearson, as former Prime Minister, set the global target for development assistance, and yet here we are falling through the cracks, not delivering. Will the minister commit to reviving the Pearson target?
The Honourable Minister of International Trade.
Nobody cares.
Speaker, we remain
Nobody in
committed
the
to our
House
long-standing
cares.
international assistance priorities. We will continue to fight poverty, to support gender equality, to strengthen health, food,
Oh
and
my God, and the
education
bullshit
systems,
answer.
and build
All right,
climate
guys.
resilience. We will
That
continue to
is
deliver urgent
going to
humanitarian
do
aid.
it for today's question period. I'm actually shocked we got 2 NDP questions and the Green Party, and typically we only get like 1. So I'm surprised everybody got their fair share today. That's going to do it for today's stream. If there's a vote, I don't know, and I don't really care to stick around. So I will be live, what is it, Thursday, Wednesday? What day is it today? I don't even know. All the days are blending in together. I'll be live whenever question period is on next. I will see you then. Adios, everybody. Have a great rest of your day or night.
Refers to this moment as the crown jewel.
Oh, wait,
their
the weekly
programming.
statement. Okay, wait, we'll watch
And,
this.
Because it is Thursday, I was wondering if the government House Leader can update the House as to the business for the rest of this week and into the next week, and wonder specifically if the government has had the time to analyze and absorb our leader's letter calling for concrete, common sense proposals to not only deal with the cost of living crisis, but also strengthen Canada's position against things like unfair tariffs. The ideas like getting rid of the capital gains tax on investments that are reinvested into Canada. I wonder if we can see legislation on that, rather than a complicated rebate scheme that will see Canadian tax dollars go to subsidize the purchase of foreign-built EVs. If we can expect any legislation that would include getting the Conservative idea of getting rid of the GST on all Canadian-produced vehicles. Those are the types of concrete measures that will not only lower the cost of living for Canadians, but also help build our economy. So will the government take us up as we extend our hands across the way for common sense solutions? Will he take us up on that offer, or will they once again double down on failed policies of the past?
Honourable Government House Leader.
Well, there's a lot to digest in that, but I am, if what I hear, and I think all Canadians will appreciate this metaphor at this time of year, if I hear the faint sound of the ice cracking in the wall of Conservative obstruction that this Parliament has encountered, the obstruction of our criminal law legislation, the obstruction of the Prime Minister's economic plan to bring $1 trillion of investment and to build Canada strong. If what I hear is the faint sounds of that dam cracking, that means that spring might be on its way, and the opposition may put down their tools of obstruction and join us in building our country strong. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, this afternoon we will continue with debate on the opposition motion brought forward by the Bloc Québécois. Tomorrow we will have the debate on the standing orders and procedure pursuant to Standing Order 51, a very hotly awaited moment in the parliamentary calendar, Mr. Speaker. On Monday of next week, we will call Bill C-10, an act respecting the Commissioner for Modern Treaty Implementation at second reading. I would also like to inform all honourable members that next Tuesday and Thursday shall be allotted days.
On Wednesday, we will begin second reading of Bill C-20, an act respecting the establishment of Build Canada Homes, Mr. Speaker, which was tabled earlier this morning by my honourable colleague, the Minister of Housing and Infrastructure, and the Minister responsible for the economic development in Canada for the Pacific. Finally, Mr. Speaker, There have been consultations amongst the parties, and I believe that you will find that the House will give unanimous consent to the following motion. That notwithstanding any standing order or usual practice of the House, at the conclusion of oral questions on Friday, February 6, 2026, the House observe a moment of silence for the late Honourable Kirsty Duncan. That afterwards, a member of each of the recognized parties, a member of the New Democratic Party, and the member of the Green Party each be permitted to make a statement for no more than 5 minutes to pay tribute, and the time taken for these proceedings shall be added to the time provided for government orders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All those who oppose the honourable member, the honourable minister moving the motion will please say nay. Agreed. The House has heard the terms of the motion.
All right.
All those who oppose the motion.
That is going to do it for today. We got the weekly statement out of the way. I don't know about you guys, but I got a bad gut feeling that there is going to be another floor crosser. I don't know from which party, but it just kind of feels that way. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it won't happen. Maybe things will just continue as they are. But I'm getting that weird feeling that there's probably going to be somebody. I don't know who. Don't know from where. Because if things go to plan and they get that Ontario NDP onto their cabinet or onto their caucus, might give some more incentive for other NDP members to cross. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But anyway, that's going to do it for today. Have a great rest of your day or night, depending on where you are from. Thank you for watching on YouTube, Rumble, and Kick. Adios, everyone.
They're trying to justify their opposition to the project, and their goal is to kill the project before the necessary legislation is even passed. They've already